The massive warship floated in the darkness of space like a metal city. Its hull stretched for kilometers, covered with weapon ports and shield generators. Inside the ship, bright lights shone down on the command center where dozens of alien beings worked at their stations. Admiral Kyle Vorthak stood tall in the center of the room. His reptilian body towered over most of his crew. Silver scales covered his skin from head to tail. His yellow eyes glowed as he stared at the huge display screen that showed the war map of the entire galaxy. Blue zones covered most of the map. These were the territories controlled by the Galactic Coalition. The blue sections were vast and connected, showing the power of the alien alliance. Scattered across this sea of blue were tiny red dots. These dots represented the last remaining human settlements. "Look at this pathetic display," Admiral Vorthak said to his officers. His voice was deep and harsh, like stones grinding together. "The humans are almost finished. Soon these red marks will disappear forever." The other aliens in the room made sounds of agreement. Commander Jin Hayok, an insect-like being with 4 arms, clicked his mandibles in what passed for laughter among his kind. Tactical Officer Zexai, whose crystal body reflected the light from the displays, chimed with musical tones that expressed amusement. Near the center of the room stood a human woman in chains. Her name was Li Jiwan, and she had once been a commander in the human fleet. Now she was a prisoner, brought to this ship to witness the final defeat of her people. Li Jiwan looked different from the other humans the aliens had captured before. Her face and body bore many scars. A jagged line ran across her left cheek, pale against her darker skin. Burn marks covered her neck like twisted rope. Her left eye had been replaced with a mechanical one that glowed softly blue. The alien officers pointed at her scars and whispered among themselves. Some made clicking sounds that meant laughter in their languages. Others hissed with amusement. To them, each mark on her body was proof that humans were weak and easy to defeat. Admiral Vorthak walked in a slow circle around Li Jiwan. His clawed feet clicked on the metal floor with each step. His tail swished behind him as he examined her like she was some interesting specimen. "Behold," the admiral said loudly so all his officers could hear, "this is what remains of humanity's mighty warriors. Scarred, broken, and defeated." He stopped directly in front of her and leaned down so his face was close to hers. His breath smelled like sulfur and metal. "Tell me, human, do you understand what those marks on your face mean?" Li Jiwan said nothing. She kept her eyes focused on the war map, studying the positions of the coalition fleets and the locations of the remaining human settlements. "I will tell you what they mean," Admiral Vorthak continued. He raised one clawed finger and pointed at the scar on her cheek. "This one comes from New Tokyo, does it not? We burned that research station to ash 3 months ago. Your scientists screamed beautifully as they died." The other aliens made more sounds of cruel amusement. Some stamped their feet. Others rattled parts of their bodies that humans did not have. "And this burn on your neck," the admiral went on, pointing to the twisted marks there. "This comes from Busan Station. We enjoyed watching your transport ships explode in the orbital bombardment. So many human civilians turned to vapor in an instant." Li Jiwan's jaw tightened, but she still said nothing. Her cybernetic eye whirred softly as it focused on different parts of the display. "Each scar tells a story," Admiral Vorthak said, standing up straight again. "The story of your species' failures. The story of worlds burned and fleets destroyed. The story of humanity's coming extinction." He walked over to the war map and gestured at the tiny red dots. "Soon, even these will be gone. Your people hide in asteroid bases and broken colonies, too afraid to fight. They send messages begging for mercy, but we have no mercy for inferior species." Commander Jin Hayok approached the map with his 4 arms moving in complex patterns. "Admiral, our scouts report that the humans in the Kepler system are preparing to abandon their last mining station. They flee before our ships even arrive." "Of course they do," Admiral Vorthak replied. "They know they cannot win. They know their time is finished." He turned back to Li Jiwan. "Is this not true, human? Do your people not cower in fear whenever they detect our ships? For the first time since being brought to the bridge, Li Jiwan spoke. Her voice was calm and steady, showing no fear despite being surrounded by enemies. "You are right about the scars, Admiral," she said. "Each one does tell a story." The alien officers became quiet. They had expected her to beg or cry or show some sign of defeat. Instead, she sounded almost relaxed. "But I think you have misunderstood what story they are telling," Li Jiwan continued. Admiral Vorthak's yellow eyes narrowed. "What do you mean by this?" Li Jiwan looked directly at him. Her natural eye was dark brown and steady. Her cybernetic eye glowed brighter as internal systems activated. "You see these marks as signs of your victories," she said. "You think each scar proves that humans are weak and easy to break. You believe that pain and loss make us give up." She paused and looked around at all the alien faces staring at her. Some looked confused. Others seemed annoyed that she was not behaving like a defeated prisoner should. "But you do not understand humans at all," Li Jiwan said. "You do not understand what we do when you hurt us, what we learn when you destroy our homes, what we become when you think you have beaten us." The Admiral's tail lashed behind him, a sign that he was becoming angry. "Speak plainly, human. What foolish hope do you cling to?" Li Jiwan smiled slightly. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret that others did not. "Every scar you mocked tells a story, Admiral," she said. "But the story is not about your victories. The story is about what happens when you try to destroy something that refuses to stay destroyed." The command center became very quiet. Even the humming of the ship's engines seemed louder than the breathing of the assembled officers. "Each mark on my body represents a moment when humanity learned something new," Li Jiwan continued. "Something about survival, something about adaptation, something about becoming more than what we were before." Admiral Vorthak drew his energy weapon and pointed it at her. "Enough riddles. You are beaten. Your species is finished. Accept this truth." Li Jiwan looked at the weapon without fear. Then she looked back at the war map with its vast blue zones and tiny red dots. "Admiral," she said quietly, "you are looking at that map all wrong." The weapon in Admiral Vorthak's clawed hand hummed with deadly energy. The blue glow from its power cell cast strange shadows across Li Jiwan's scarred face. But she did not step back or show any fear. Instead, she moved closer to the huge war map display. Her chains made soft clinking sounds as she walked. The alien officers around the command center tensed, ready to stop her if she tried anything dangerous. But Admiral Vorthak held up his free hand, telling them to wait. He was curious about what this broken human might say. "You think you understand these scars?" Li Jiwan said, pointing to the mark on her cheek. "You think this scar from New Tokyo means you won that battle?" She looked directly at the Admiral. "But you do not know what New Tokyo really was." Admiral Vorthak kept his weapon aimed at her but leaned forward slightly. "It was a research station. We destroyed it completely. All your scientists died." "New Tokyo was not just any research station," Li Jiwan replied. "It was where Dr. Park, Minho, worked. He was our best weapons scientist. For 2 years, he and his team were creating something that would change everything." Commander Jin Hyok moved his forearms nervously. "Whatever they were building died with them. We made sure of that." Li Jiwan's lips curved into a small smile. "Did it really die, Commander? Tell me something. In the 3 months since you destroyed New Tokyo, have you noticed anything different about our ships? About our weapons?" The insect-like alien clicked, his mandibles together in thought. Then he quickly activated his data tablet and began searching through recent battle reports. His compound eyes moved rapidly as he read the information. "Admiral," Commander Jin Hyok said in a voice that was suddenly worried, "the recent fights with human ships show strange energy readings. Our sensors detected weapon types we have never seen before." "Impossible," Admiral Vorthak snapped. "We destroyed their research capabilities." "You destroyed one research station," Li Jiwan corrected, "but Dr. Park Minho was very careful. 3 days before your attack on New Tokyo, he finished his work. He sent all the completed research data to every human outpost that still existed. The alien officers began to mutter among themselves in their different languages. Some made worried clicking sounds. Others hissed with concern. The scar you mocked so much represents the birth of quantum disruption technology, Li Jiwan continued. Every human ship now carries weapons that can tear apart matter at the molecular level. Admiral Vorthak's scales darkened to a deeper silver, which meant he was becoming stressed. You are lying to make yourself feel better about losing. Li Jiwan pointed to the burn marks on her neck. These burns came from Busan Station. You were very proud of that orbital bombardment, were you not? You destroyed what you thought was just a civilian transport hub. Her cybernetic eye glowed brighter as it accessed stored data files. But Busan Station was much more than that. It was our primary communications center. Every message between human colonies went through that station. Which is why we destroyed it, the Admiral said, to cut off your communications. When you destroyed Busan Station, you did cut off our old communication system, Li Jiwan agreed. But you also did something else. You gave Chief Engineer Kim Sora the emergency authorization she needed to activate something new. She looked around at the confused alien faces. Kim Sora had been working on quantum entangled communication nodes for 5 years. The technology was ready, but our leaders thought it was too expensive to use. Your attack changed their minds. Commander Jin Hyuk was reading his data tablet faster now, his forearms moving in agitated patterns. Admiral, the battle reports show that human forces have been coordinating attacks across impossible distances. Ships that should not be able to communicate with each other are working together perfectly. The Whisper Network, Li Jiwan said. That is what we call it. Instant communication across any distance. No signal delays. No way for you to intercept or block our messages. Tactical Officer Zexhai's crystal body began to pulse with different colors, showing her growing alarm. The attack on our supply convoy in the Vega system last month. 3 human ships appeared from different directions at exactly the same time. We thought it was impossible coordination. It was perfect coordination, Li Jiwan confirmed. Made possible by the communication system you forced us to build when you destroyed Busan Station. Admiral Vorthak's weapon wavered slightly in his grip. Even if what you say is true, you are still losing. Look at this map. We control almost everything. You control territory, Li Jiwan said. But do you control what happens in that territory? She gestured to her cybernetic eye. This replacement eye is not just for seeing. It contains processing power that your best computers cannot match. Dr. Han Yunji designed it before you destroyed the research station on Europa 6. The Admiral stepped back slightly. Cybernetic replacements are nothing new. These are not normal cybernetics, Li Jiwan replied. They are bio-integrated quantum processors. They connect directly to the brain and nervous system. Every human who lost a body part to your attacks has been rebuilt with technology you cannot understand. Her cybernetic eye projected a small hologram, showing data streams and connection patterns. We can interface directly with any electronic system. We can process information faster than your best analysts. We can hack into networks just by being near them. Commander Jin Hyuk suddenly dropped his data tablet. The device clattered on the metal floor as he realized something terrible. Admiral, she has been connected to our ship system since we brought her aboard. Warning lights began flashing throughout the command center. Alert sirens started wailing as ship systems began reporting errors and malfunctions. That is not possible, Admiral Vorthak said, but his voice lacked confidence now. Our security systems would prevent any intrusion. Your security systems were designed to stop attacks from outside your ship, Li Jiwan explained calmly, even as chaos erupted around them. They were not designed to stop someone who is already inside your network, someone who has been quietly watching and learning since the moment she stepped aboard. The main display screen flickered and changed. Instead of showing the war map, it now displayed real-time tactical information about coalition fleet positions and vulnerabilities. How long have you been in our systems? The Admiral demanded. Li Jiwan's smile grew wider. Long enough to learn everything I need to know. Long enough to send that information to people who can use it. More alarms sounded as ship after ship in the Coalition fleet reported system intrusions and data breaches. Every defeat you handed us came with a lesson, Li Jiwan said. Every scar you gave us made us stronger. Every time you broke something, we built it back better than before. The command center shook as explosions erupted somewhere deep in the ship. Emergency lighting cast red shadows across the panicking alien crew. The scars you mocked were never signs of weakness, Admiral, Li Jiwan said as she watched their fear grow. They were proof that we survive, that we adapt, that we become something new. Admiral Vorthak raised his weapon again, but his hand was shaking now. What have you done? I have shown you the truth, Li Jiwan replied. Every scar tells a story. And now you are about to become part of that story. The command center filled with smoke and the smell of burning circuits. Red emergency lights flashed on and off, making the alien faces look like demons in the darkness. Admiral Vorthak's weapon shook in his clawed hand as he tried to understand what was happening to his mighty warship. Shut it down, he roared at Li Jiwan. Whatever you are doing to our systems, stop it now. Li Jiwan stood perfectly still in her chains. The chaos around her did not seem to bother her at all. Her cybernetic eye glowed steadily in the flickering light. I am not doing anything now, Admiral, she said in a calm voice. I am just observing, learning, recording, the way humans always do when they face something new. Commander Jin Hyuk scuttled between control stations on his 4 legs, trying to help his crew regain control of their ship, but every system they tried to fix developed new problems. Admiral, the humans must have planted some kind of virus in our computers. Not a virus, Li Jiwan corrected. Just information. Data about how your systems work. Knowledge about your weaknesses. Understanding about what makes your technology fail. Tactical Officer Zexhai's crystal body flashed with angry red colors. Our technology is superior to anything humans have ever built. Your technology is powerful, Li Jiwan agreed. But it is also predictable. You have used the same basic designs for hundreds of years. You never had to change because you never faced an enemy that forced you to adapt. She looked around at the panicking aliens. Every scar on my body represents a lesson we learned about your weaknesses. Li Jiwan pointed to a faded burn mark on her wrist. This came from the plasma fire at mining station Kepler 442b. You destroyed our dilithium extraction operation there. You killed everyone who worked at that facility. Admiral Vorthak's tail lashed behind him. Another victory for the Coalition. That station was run by Dr. Choi Dong-hyun, Li Jiwan continued. He was our best expert on exotic matter physics. When your attack caused the reactor to go critical, he had only seconds to live. The lights in the command center flickered again. More warning sirens began to sound from different parts of the ship. Instead of trying to escape, Dr. Choi stayed at his post, Li Jiwan said. He used those final seconds to record what happened when exotic matter reacted with plasma fire. His last transmission contained the key to zero-point energy extraction. Commander Jin Hyuk looked up from his control station with wide compound eyes. Admiral, our intelligence reports have mentioned unusual energy signatures from human vessels. Power readings that our scientists could not identify or explain. Ships that can run for months without refueling. Li Jiwan added. Weapons that draw power directly from space itself. Shield systems that grow stronger the more energy you fire at them. She traced a long scar along her forearm with one finger. This mark came from the glass fields of Titan 7. You shattered our terraforming domes there. Director Song Minji and her entire atmospheric engineering team died when the air rushed out into space. Admiral Vorthak's scales were now so dark, they looked almost black. We remember that battle. Your people died. Quickly in the vacuum. They did die, Li Jiwan confirmed, but their sacrifice taught us something valuable about surviving in airless environments, about adapting to conditions that would kill most life forms. She looked directly at the Admiral. Tell me, how many species in your coalition can fight effectively in hard vacuum? How many of your soldiers can survive outside their ships without environmental suits? The alien officers exchanged nervous glances. None of their species had evolved the ability to survive in space without protection. "The Battle of the Void Reaches last month," whispered another officer, a slug-like being whose name was difficult for humans to pronounce. "Our sensors showed human Marines fighting outside their ships. We thought our equipment was broken." "Your sensors were working perfectly," Li Jiwan said. "We have adapted. We have changed. Every impossible situation you created for us became our new normal condition." The main display screen flickered again. This time it showed footage from recent battles. Human soldiers moved through space without suits, breathing somehow in the vacuum. Their ships operated in conditions that should have been instantly fatal to any crew. "Impossible," Admiral Vorthak said, but his voice was weak now. "Evolution," Li Jiwan replied. "Forced evolution. Rapid adaptation under extreme pressure. You thought you were exterminating us. You were actually making us into something new." Commander Jin Hyuk abandoned his control station and approached the Admiral. "Sir, if what she says is true, then we have been fighting an enemy that becomes stronger every time we defeat them." "Not just stronger," Li Jiwan corrected. "Different. Better. More capable than we were before." She pointed to another scar, this one barely visible on her hand. "This came from the acid rain on Proxima Colony. You poisoned our atmosphere there. Thousands of our people died from chemical burns and lung damage." The alien officers waited to hear what lesson humanity had learned from that attack. "Dr. Yoon Jiwan was our chief medical officer on Proxima," Li Jiwan continued. "As he watched our people die, he developed treatments for acid damage. But more than that, he found ways to change our biology so we could survive in toxic environments." The ship shuddered as more systems failed. Emergency power kicked in, making the lights even dimmer. "How many planets in your coalition have poisonous atmospheres?" Li Jiwan asked. "How many worlds are too toxic for your species to colonize? For us, they are now perfectly comfortable homes." Admiral Vorthak sank into his command chair. His weapon hung loose in his grip. "What are you saying?" "I am saying that every attack you made against us expanded the places where humans can live and fight," Li Jiwan explained. "You forced us to adapt to every environment in the galaxy. There is nowhere you can go that we cannot follow." The tactical display showed star charts with thousands of worlds marked in different colors. Worlds that had been considered uninhabitable were now glowing with indicators of human presence. "You see this war as a contest for territory," Li Jiwan said. "But territory is meaningless when your enemy can live anywhere, when they can survive in any condition, when they can adapt to any challenge you present." Her cybernetic eye projected new images showing human settlements in the hearts of gas giants, in the cores of asteroids, on the surfaces of stars themselves. "Every scar you mocked was proof that we had survived something that should have killed us," she said. "Every mark on my body represents an environment where humans can now thrive." Admiral Vorthak looked at the display in horror. "We created monsters." "No," Li Jiwan replied. "You created the next step in human evolution. And now, we are everywhere." The emergency lighting cast long shadows across the command center as Li Jiwan moved closer to the massive holographic war map. Her chains clinked softly with each step, but the sound seemed loud in the tense silence that had fallen over the alien crew. "Admiral," she said, looking up at the display that showed the Coalition's vast blue territories and the tiny red dots of human settlements. "You have been staring at this map for months, haven't you? Watching those red dots shrink, feeling proud of your victories." Admiral Vorthak's yellow eyes followed her gaze to the hologram. "Those dots represent the last of your kind. Soon they will all be gone." "You see this as evidence of your dominance," Li Jiwan replied. "But let me ask you something important. How many of your own worlds can you actually protect right now?" The Admiral's reptilian features twisted with confusion. "What do you mean?" "We control these territories. They belong to the Coalition. Control means the ability to defend something," Li Jiwan explained. "It means having the power to stop your enemies from taking what is yours." "Tell me about the Zirian Nebula incident that happened 2 weeks ago." Commander Jin Hyuk quickly searched through his data files with all 4 arms moving rapidly. The mining operation in that sector went dark. We assumed it was equipment failure or asteroid damage, or the unexplained power failures on Vorthak Prime last month. Li Jiwan continued. Admiral Vorthak's scales darkened even more. That was his homeworld, the center of his species' civilization. Those were terrorist attacks, random acts of sabotage by desperate humans. Random. Li Jiwan's cybernetic eye glowed brighter and projected a small hologram above her palm. The image showed a map of Coalition space with dozens of small incidents marked in red. Look at the pattern, Admiral. The projection grew larger, filling the space between them. What had seemed like scattered, unrelated problems suddenly formed a clear design. Mining stations going dark, supply convoys disappearing, communication arrays failing, power grids shutting down. Sergeant Major Lee Dae-hyun leads what we call the Phantom Corps, Li Jiwan explained. They are volunteers who have been declared officially dead. Their names have been erased from all records. They do not exist anymore. Tactical Officer Zexhai's crystal body flickered with worried patterns of light. Dead people cannot conduct military operations. Dead people can go anywhere, Li Jiwan replied. They have no families to protect, no homes to return to, no lives to lose. They move through your territory like ghosts, and ghosts are very hard to catch. The holographic display showed movement patterns through Coalition space, invisible paths that connected each incident, revealing a network of activity that had been happening right under their noses. You have been so focused on these obvious red dots, Li Jiwan said, pointing to the human territories on the main map, that you never noticed the cancer spreading through your blue zones. Commander Jin Hyok scuttled over to examine the projection more closely. These incidents have been creating gaps in our supply network, strategic weaknesses in our defensive positions. Supply networks that you never had to worry about before fighting humans, Li Jiwan observed. Your species have always been conquerors, Admiral. You take territory, you crush the population, you move on to the next target. But you have never fought an enemy that turns your own infrastructure against you. She touched the cybernetic device that had replaced her left eye. This is not just for vision. It contains more processing power than your largest computers. Dr. Han Yunji designed it before your forces turned Europa 6 into molten glass. Admiral Vorthak backed away slightly. Cybernetic implants are not unknown to us. Not normal cybernetics, Li Jiwan corrected. Bio-integrated quantum processors that connect directly to the human nervous system. Every person who lost a body part to your attacks has been rebuilt with technology that can interface with any electronic system. Her cybernetic eye projected new data streams showing network connections throughout the Coalition fleet. Did you know that I have been connected to your ship's computer system since the moment I was brought aboard? Did you know that I have been copying your files, your battle plans, your strategic databases? Alarms began sounding again throughout the command center. More systems reported critical failures as the ship's computer network began to collapse from within. Our security protocols should prevent any unauthorized access, Commander Jin Hyok said in a panicked voice. Your security was designed to stop external attacks, Li Jiwan explained. Hackers trying to break in from outside your ships. But what happens when the attack comes from inside? What happens when someone with quantum processing power is physically connected to your network? The main display screen went dark for a moment, then lit up again, showing something that made every alien in the room freeze with terror. The tactical situation around their fleet had changed completely. Dozens of human vessels had appeared on the sensors, surrounding the Coalition ships that had been escorting Admiral Vorthak's flagship. Impossible, the Admiral whispered. Our perimeter sensors would have detected any approaching ships. The same way you detected all those supply line attacks? Li Jiwan asked. The same way you noticed the Phantom Corps operating in your territory? The same way you realized I was copying your computer files? The human ships on the display were unlike anything the Coalition had ever seen before. They moved in ways that seemed to defy physics, bending and flowing like living creatures instead of mechanical vessels. Those are not ships, Tactical Officer, Zexhai said, her crystal form pulsing with fear. They look like predators, like hunters. Biomechanical hybrids, Li Jiwan confirmed. living vessels that grow and adapt. Dr. Ryu Jimin was working on organic ship designs when you destroyed our research colony on Kepler 438b. His final notes, transmitted moments before the station exploded, contained the blueprints for ships that become stronger after each battle. The alien crew watched in horror as the human vessels moved through space with fluid grace, positioning themselves to attack from multiple angles simultaneously. Our intelligence networks would have detected such developments, Admiral Vorthak said weakly. Your intelligence networks have been compromised for months, Lee Ji-won revealed. Agent Nam So-young and her infiltration teams have been feeding you false information while collecting everything you thought was secret. The display changed again, showing coalition fleet movements, battle plans, and resource locations. All of it was marked with timestamps indicating when human operatives had accessed the classified information. Every battle we lost put people behind your lines, Lee Ji-won explained. People you thought were dead. People who watched and learned and reported back to us. We have been studying you, Admiral, learning how you think, understanding how you fight. Commander Jin Hyuk collapsed into a chair, overwhelmed by the implications. We have been fighting a war against an enemy that was inside our own command structure, not just inside, Lee Ji-won said. We have been ahead of you. Every move you made we knew about in advance. Every strategy you planned, we had already prepared counters for. The coalition fleet tried to maneuver into defensive positions, but their movements were slow and predictable. The human ships flowed around them like schools of fish, striking at weak points with surgical precision. Your mistake was thinking that scars represent weakness, Lee Ji-won said as she watched the battle begin. For humans, scars represent survival. They represent knowledge. They represent the wisdom that comes from pain. She looked directly at Admiral Vorthak as his mighty fleet began to fall apart around him. And now, Admiral, we know everything about you. The battle outside the ship was unlike anything the coalition forces had ever experienced. Through the viewing ports of the command center, Admiral Vorthak watched his mighty fleet being torn apart by enemies that moved like living things through the darkness of space. Human ships flowed between the coalition vessels like water flowing around rocks. They seemed to know exactly where to strike to cause the most damage. Energy beams that should have destroyed them passed harmlessly through empty space as the organic-looking craft bent and twisted in impossible ways. Damage reports coming in. From all ships, Commander Jin Hyuk announced, his forearms working frantically at multiple control stations. The humans are targeting our weapon systems first, then our engines, then our life support. Admiral Vorthak still held his energy. Weapon pointed at Lee Ji-won, but his hand was shaking now. They are trying to capture us alive. Of course they are, Lee Ji-won replied calmly. Dead enemies cannot teach you anything new. Living prisoners can provide information about technology, tactics, and weaknesses you have not discovered yet. Ship shuddered as something struck its hull. Emergency power flickered and several control stations sparked with electrical fires. Alien crew members ran back and forth, trying to repair systems faster than they could be damaged. This is impossible, Admiral Vorthak said. We have the largest fleet in the galaxy. Our weapons are more powerful than anything humans have ever built. Our shields are impenetrable. Your weapons are powerful when they can hit their targets, Lee Ji-won agreed. Your shields are strong when they know what kind of attack is coming. But you designed all of this technology to fight enemies like yourselves. Enemies that use the same basic tactics. Enemies that think the way you think. She gestured toward the viewing port where the battle continued. How do you fight an enemy that does not follow your rules? How do you defend against tactics that your strategist never imagined? Captain Oh Sung-jae's voice suddenly echoed through the ship's communication system. The human officer spoke in clear, unaccented coalition standard, the common language used by all member species. Admiral Vorthak, the voice said. This is Captain Oh Sung-jae of the human vessel Rising Dawn. You are completely surrounded. Your fleet is disabled. Surrender now, and your crews will be treated according to the standards of civilized warfare. Admiral Vorthak activated his own communication system with a shaking claw. I am Admiral Vorthak of the Coalition 4th Fleet. We do not surrender to inferior species. There are no inferior species, Admiral, Captain Oh's voice replied. There are only species that adapt and species that do not. Which kind do you want to be? Through the viewing port, they could see the human ships had completely encircled the coalition fleet. The organic vessels pulsed with soft light, like the breathing of enormous sea creatures. Coalition ships floated dead in space, their weapons offline, their crews trapped inside. How? Admiral Vorthak whispered. How did you coordinate this attack across such a vast area? How did you know exactly where to find us? Li Jiwan's cybernetic eye projected a complex display showing communication networks that stretched across the galaxy. The Whisper network that Chief Engineer Kim Sora built after you destroyed Busan Station. Quantum-entangled communication nodes that allow instant contact across any distance. The projection showed thousands of connection points, linking human settlements, ships, and hidden bases in a web that covered known space. Every human outpost can communicate with every other outpost instantly. No signal delays. No way for you to intercept or jam our messages. Commander Jin Hyuk looked at the display in amazement and terror. Perfect coordination across galactic distances. That should be theoretically impossible. Many things are theoretically impossible until someone makes them work, Li Jiwan replied. Dr. Park Min-ho used to say that the word impossible just means no one has figured out how to do it yet. The ship shook again as more human vessels moved into position around them. Through the communication system, they could hear coalition officers from other ships reporting their surrender one by one. We still outnumber you, Admiral Vorthak said desperately. Even if you capture this fleet, the coalition has thousands of other ships, millions of soldiers, entire worlds full of warriors. Warriors who have never fought an enemy like us, Li Jiwan pointed out. Warriors who use the same tactics your people have used for centuries. Warriors who think that bigger. Weapons and stronger shields are the only path to victory. She walked to the main tactical display, her chains dragging behind her. Look at this battle, Admiral. How many of your ships were destroyed? How many of your crew members were killed? Admiral Vorthak checked the damage reports. His yellow eyes widened in surprise. None. No ships destroyed. No crew deaths reported. Because we did not come here to destroy you, Li Jiwan explained. We came here to capture you, to study you, to learn from you the same way we learned from every attack you made against us. The implications of this sank in slowly. The humans had not just defeated the coalition fleet. They had defeated it without causing unnecessary casualties. They had shown precision and restraint that spoke of careful planning and complete confidence in their abilities. Every coalition ship in this fleet will be studied, Li Jiwan continued. Every weapon system will be examined. Every piece of technology will be understood and improved upon. Your defeat will teach us how to defeat other coalition fleets more efficiently. Captain O's voice came through the communications again. Admiral, we are sending boarding parties to assist with medical aid and repairs. Any crew member who resists will be sedated but not harmed. This is your final opportunity to surrender with dignity. Admiral Vorthak looked around his ruined command center. Smoke drifted from broken control stations. Emergency lights cast red shadows on the faces of his terrified crew. The war map still showed coalition territory covering most of the galaxy, but now he understood that the map was a lie. What do you want? He asked Li Jiwan. We want to survive, she replied simply. We want to grow. We want to become something better than what we were before you tried to exterminate us. The sound of cutting tools came through the hull as human. Boarding parties began to enter the ship. You taught us that the universe is a dangerous place, Li Jiwan said. You taught us that peaceful species can be destroyed by aggressive ones. You taught us that we needed to become strong enough to protect ourselves. Admiral Vorthak slowly lowered his weapon. We created our own enemies. You created the next stage of human evolution, Li Jiwan corrected. Every scar you gave us made us stronger. Every loss you caused made us smarter. Every defeat you handed us taught us something new about survival. The doors to the command center opened with a hiss of pressurizing air. Human soldiers entered, moving with fluid grace that reminded the aliens of predators. But they carried medical supplies alongside their weapons, and their leader held up empty hands in a gesture of peace. Admiral Vorthak, the lead soldier said. I am Sergeant Major Lee Daehyun of the Phantom Corps. You are now a prisoner of the Human Resistance Fleet. You and your crew will be treated with respect and dignity. As coalition officers laid down their weapons, Lee Ji-won looked one last time at the war map with its vast blue zones and tiny red dots. The scars you mocked told a story, Admiral, she said quietly. But it was not the story of our defeat. It was the story of our transformation from prey into predators, from victims into victors, from a dying species into something the galaxy has never seen before. The battle was over. But for humanity, the real war was just beginning. 6 months had passed since the Battle of the Dominion's Edge. The massive warship that had once belonged to Admiral Vorthak now bore a different name painted on its hull in both human and coalition languages, Rising Phoenix. The command center had been rebuilt with technology that combined the best of both civilizations. Lee Ji-won stood before a very different kind of war map. Gone were the vast blue zones of coalition control and the tiny red dots of human settlements. In their place was a complex pattern of shared territories, neutral zones, and cooperative regions. Green areas marked planets where humans and aliens worked together. Yellow zones showed regions under joint protection. Purple sectors indicated areas being explored by mixed crews. The scars on her face had faded somewhat over the months, but they were still visible in the soft lighting of the new command center. She wore the uniform of a diplomatic admiral now, a rank that had been created specifically for the new era of cooperation between species. Former Admiral Vorthak approached the display. He no longer wore the ornate armor of a coalition commander. Instead, he dressed in the simple work clothes of a technical advisor. His pride was gone, replaced by something that might have been wisdom. I still find it difficult to understand, he said, his voice quieter than it had been during the war. The coordination required for what you accomplished, the planning across such vast distances and time periods. How did your species manage such complex strategies? Lee Ji-won turned to face him. The relationship between them had changed completely from their first meeting. Where once there had been contempt and hatred, now there was mutual respect born from shared experience. We did not plan it the way you think of planning, she explained. We did not have secret meetings where leaders drew up master strategies. We simply did what humans have always done when faced with impossible situations. She gestured toward the map showing the new galactic order. We adapted, we learned, we changed. Every time you hurt us, we asked ourselves what we could do differently. Every time you broke something, we built it back better than before. Former Commander Jin Hyok entered the command center carrying a data pad. His forearms moved in patterns that now indicated respect rather than fear. He had become the primary liaison between human and coalition technical teams. The joint defense grid is fully operational, he reported. Dr. Park Min-ho's quantum disruption technology has been successfully integrated with coalition shield systems. The combined effectiveness is 30% greater than either system working alone. And the Phantom Corps? Lee Ji-won asked. Sergeant Major Lee Daehyun reports that all stealth operations have been suspended as planned. His people are transitioning to reconnaissance and early warning roles. They seem to be enjoying having official identities again. Vorthak shook his head in amazement. You could have destroyed the coalition completely. Your technology, your tactics, your ability to operate in any environment. We would have been defenseless against a full human assault. Lee Ji-won walked to the large viewing port that looked out into space. Through the transparent material, they could see a mixed patrol of human bioships and coalition vessels flying in formation. The organic human craft moved alongside the mechanical alien ships like dolphins swimming with whales. Destruction was never our goal, she said. Survival was our goal. Growth was our goal. Becoming something better than what we had been before. She touched the scar on her cheek, the mark that had started this entire conversation so many months ago. You taught us that the universe contains species willing to commit genocide against those they consider inferior. You showed us that peaceful civilizations can be wiped out by aggressive ones. You forced us to understand that we needed to become strong enough to protect ourselves. Through the viewing port, they watched as a new type of vessel approached. Their position: It was clearly built using both human and coalition technology, with organic curves blending smoothly into crystalline structures. The ship's hull bore markings from a dozen different species. The first joint colony ship, Jin Hyok announced proudly. Crew members from 15 different worlds working together to establish a settlement in the Andromeda Relay Sector. Worlds that were once enemies, Vorthak observed. Species that have fought each other for generations, now cooperating to build something new. Li Jiwan nodded. Every scar teaches a lesson if you are willing to learn from it. The coalition learned that conquest without understanding creates enemies rather than subjects. Humanity learned that isolation makes you vulnerable to those who would destroy you. The joint colony ship moved past their position, heading toward a distant star system where humans and aliens would build a new kind of civilization together. Its crew included species that had once tried to exterminate each other. The war changed all of us, Li Jiwan continued. It forced every species to adapt or face extinction. The coalition learned to value cooperation over domination. Humanity learned to value strength over passive resistance. She looked at the tactical display showing patrol routes and communication networks that now covered the entire galaxy. Human Whisper network nodes worked alongside coalition relay stations to create a communication system that could coordinate responses to threats across impossible distances. Dr. Kim Sora's quantum communication technology now connects every major world in the galaxy, Jin Hyok reported. Response times to emergency situations have improved by 800%. And the biomechanical ship program? Li Jiwan asked. Dr. Ryu Jimin's organic vessel designs are being adapted for exploration rather than warfare. The new ships can repair themselves, adapt to unknown environments, and grow larger as mission requirements change. Vorthak walked closer to the viewing port and watched the mixed patrols flying their routes through space. I spent my entire career believing that strength came from the ability to dominate others. That victory meant forcing your enemies to submit to your will. He turned to look at Li Jiwan with eyes that had lost their predatory gleam. But you showed me something different. You showed me that true strength comes from the ability to survive anything, to adapt to any challenge, to become stronger through adversity rather than weaker. The tactical display updated again, showing new joint research stations being established in previously unexplored regions of space. Human adaptability combined with coalition technology was opening up areas of the galaxy that had been considered unreachable. The scars you mocked that day told a story, Li Jiwan said, tracing the faded mark on her cheek. But it was not the story you thought it was. Each mark represented a moment when humanity faced extinction and chose evolution instead. She looked around the command center at the mixed crew of humans and aliens working together at shared stations. You tried to break us, Admiral. You tried to crush us. You tried to make us disappear from the galaxy forever. The ship's communication system chimed softly, and Captain Oh Seung-jae's voice filled the room. Admiral Lee, we are receiving a distress signal from the Outer Rim territories. Unknown hostiles are attacking the mining colonies in the Tau Ceti system. Li Jiwan moved to the command station, her fingers dancing across controls that combined human intuitive design with alien precision engineering. Dispatch the Joint Response Fleet, human bioships for reconnaissance, coalition heavy cruisers for firepower, mixed crews for tactical coordination. Acknowledged, Captain O replied. Estimated arrival time is 6 hours using quantum tunnel drives. As the emergency response began, Li Jiwan watched the tactical display show ships from dozens of species moving to defend colonies they had never seen, protecting people they had never met, simply because it was the right thing to do. The war is over, Admiral, she said to Vorthak as the joint fleet prepared to face this new threat together. But our story, the story of what we all became because of those scars, that story is just beginning. Outside the viewing port, human and alien ships flew side by side toward danger, no longer as conquerors and victims, but as allies facing the unknown challenges of a vast galaxy together. The scars remained on Li Jiwan's face and in the memory of every species that had fought in the war, but they no longer represented pain or defeat. They had become something else entirely, reminders of the strength that comes from surviving, the wisdom that comes from adapting, and the hope that comes from choosing to build rather than destroy. In the end, the galaxy had learned the most important lesson that scars can teach, that what does not kill you does not just make you stronger, it makes you into something entirely new.